Hello, and it's nice to have you join us on another exciting episode of your program that gives you guides to the maritime sector, home and abroad. Nimasa this week. I remain your anchor, Oyewole. From the bustling port to the open seas, we will explore, as usual, latest developments, trends, and innovations that guide the maritime industry. So, why don't you sit back, relax, and set sail with us in this interesting journey. I'll be right back.
Any vessel operating coastal voyage in Nigeria must mandatorily have on board the following: vessel logbook, vessel port of call, vessel particulars, which include registry certificates, safety equipment certificates such as safe manning certificates, builder's certificates, load line certificates, tonnage certificates, radio certificate, insurance certificates, classification certificates, passenger ship safety certificates, service certificates, cargo ship certificates, and waiver certificates or receipts. Vessel owners, captains, shipping agents, and members of the public are advised to note and comply.
Our first port of call today is the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, where the Honorable Minister, His Excellency Adegboyega Oyetola CON, addressed the Joint Committee on Marine Transport, Ports, Marine Safety, Education, Inland Waterways, and Shipping Services for the 2025 Budget Defense. During the address, the Honorable Minister expressed his gratitude for the support of the National Assembly and continued cooperation to establish the necessary structures for the blue economic's growth. Stay tuned.
The Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, His Excellency Adegboyega Oyetola CON, appeared before the Joint Committee on Marine Transport, Ports, Marine Safety, Education, Inland Waterways, and Shipping Services during the 2025 Budget Defense. He disclosed that the ministry is committed to strengthening the Blue Economy Initiative in the areas of infrastructure, maritime safety, increased fish production, information technology deployment, and human capacity building. This budget cycle cuts across the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy and all its agencies, which include the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, the Nigerian Ports Authority, the National Inland Waterways Authority, the Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, the Nigerian Shippers Council, amongst others.
Honorable Chairman and members, you are aware that the 2025 budget is tagged Budget of Restoration, Securing Peace, and Rebuilding Prosperity. Therefore, the Federal Ministry of Marine and Economy and its agencies under the 2025 budget seek to consolidate and sustain on the achievements and performances recorded in the immediate past year by focusing on port infrastructural development, increased fish production, maritime safety and security, information technology deployment to improve operation and revenue generation, human capital development, and effective technical and economic regulation to ensure the strengthening of the economy in Nigeria.
Speaking further, he noted that for the 2024 budget, the ministry committed 9.97 billion naira of its 10.84 billion naira capital allocation and utilized 191 million naira for overhead expenses, in addition to receiving a 625 million naira takeoff grant. He also informed the Joint Committee that as a newly established ministry, issues on infrastructure deficiencies and developing key strategies such as the National Blue Economy Strategy and the Fisheries and Aquaculture Policy are top priorities. The ministry was unable to access funding for the Fisheries Department in 2024, but is proposing a capital budget of 11.77 billion naira and an overhead of 453.86 million naira for 2025. He also used the opportunity to express gratitude for the support of the National Assembly and continued cooperation to establish the necessary structure for the growth of the blue economy.
For the purpose of clarity, I need to state that 3 of the agencies under the ministry, namely NPA, Nimasa, and Shippers Council, are fully self-funded and make significant remittances to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. The National Inland Waterways Authority, NOAA, Maritime Academy of Nigeria, derives their funding from both the federal government budget and internally generated revenue.
I am particularly delighted to see such a diverse gathering of experts, practitioners, policymakers, and key stakeholders from various sectors. Your presence here today underscores our commitment to harnessing Nigeria's vast marine and blue economy potential for sustainable development. Nigeria's marine and blue economy resources and coastal waters represent untapped opportunities for economic growth, environmental sustainability, and social prosperity. However, realizing these potentials require a unified and well-structured approach that guarantees a national policy that reflects the aspiration of all stakeholders, balances competing interests, aligns with global best practices, and keys into the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration and the presidential priorities on unlocking energy and natural resources for sustainable development.
In his keynote address, the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola CON, emphasized the ministry's commitment to leveraging Nigeria's extensive marine resources to stimulate economic growth, enhance security, and promote environmental sustainability. He added that a national policy will serve as a catalyst for achieving the ministry's objectives.
The blue economy is a transformative pathway for nations seeking to balance economic growth with environmental sustainability. For Nigeria, with 853 kilometers of coastline, extensive inland waterways, and a vast exclusive economic zone, the marine environment holds unparalleled opportunities in areas of fisheries, aquaculture, shipping and maritime infrastructure, tourism, renewable energy, and seabed mining.
I am Captain Sondo Moren.
My name is Emmanuel Maigua.
I am Dr. Odunayo Ani,
Hello everyone, my name is Vivian Chimezie.
Western Nigeria President.
CEO of BRICS Master Attorney and President of Mano.
And I'm the Director General at the Nigerian Chamber of Shipping.
You're watching Nimasa this week.
You're watching Nimasa this week,
The voice of the maritime.
the voice of the maritime industry.
Keep watching.
Keep watching Nimasa this week.
Keep watching us.
Nimasa this week, the voice of maritime, showing on these stations.
Welcome back. Our next port of call is the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, which is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that the maritime sector contributes positively to Nigeria's overall sustainable development goals through collaboration with international organizations such as IMO and other regulatory bodies. The Director General of Nimasa, Dr. Dayo Mobirola, at an event spoke extensively about collaboration for sustainable development. Take a listen.
Sustainability has continued to take center stage in global discourse, which aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This initiative, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. In Nigeria, the agency responsible for the protection of the marine environment is the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, who works to prevent marine pollution, including oil spills, ballast water management, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions from ships. Promoting these practices align with the concept of sustainability, which aims to foster the preservation of Nigeria's coastal and marine ecosystems for future generations. The Marine Environment Management Department of the agency is responsible for this task.
Global warming is a global phenomenon now that you and I and everybody, whether in the maritime environment or otherwise, should take seriously. Nimasa is focused on the maritime component of it, and that's going to involve ships and other maritime platforms. So what we are doing now is Nigeria is taking a forefront position. In Nigeria, we are putting in place several measures, and this includes educating and sensitizing the public. We are also conscious of the kind of fuel that we use that causes this global warming. We are talking in Africa. Presently, we are talking to African countries, talking to African organizations and relevant institutions with a view to developing a framework to address these global warming issues.
Interestingly, the agency, through the supervision of the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, plays a vital role in the actualization of the Blue Economy mantra, which aims to promote sustainability and preservation of ocean resources for economic growth. This involves fostering a regime of sustainable fisheries, coastal tourism, and other marine-related industries while ensuring environmental protection. Nimasa's action in this space contributes to long-term economic sustainability and environmental stewardship.
Remember that unlocking the full potential of all subsectors of the blue economy requires a strategic, sustainable approach based on research, collaboration, and public-private partnerships, including partnership with organizations such as AU, IBA, among others. That the true measure of our success lies in the tangible benefits we bring to our communities and the ecosystem we are entrusted to protect. Together, we can navigate the path towards a vibrant economy that only meets the needs of today, but also secures a prosperous future for generations to come.
To synchronize the mandates of the agency with the objectives of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the agency collaborates with international organizations such as the IMO and other regulatory bodies to align Nigeria's maritime policies with global standards. By adhering to international conventions and agreements, Nimasa ensures that Nigeria's maritime industry remains competitive, environmentally responsible, and sustainable on a global scale. Through these and other activities, Nimasa is instrumental in ensuring that the maritime sector contributes positively to Nigeria's overall sustainable development goals, balancing economic growth with environmental stewardship and social inclusion.
Let's reduce the cost of freight, cost of logistics, which would dovetail into reduction of transportation costs generally for Africa and Nigeria especially. We are looking at all the possible means and ideas how we can continue to sustain it. Again, we are into the marine environmental protection. So decarbonization, net zero, climate change, everything that can help sustain the environment. In actual fact, I recoined it differently by saying that Nimasa wants to partner with the environment. So that everything that is good about the environment, we want to be a partner to it.
Still on Nimasa this week. This is the segment where we engage stakeholders on their assessment of the maritime sector and other related matters. This week, we shall be chatting with Mr. Olumide Oyewole, a senior maritime safety officer, on the overview of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, UNSDGs, and Nimasa's effort towards achieving the UNSDGs. Stay tuned on the program.
Hello viewers, in this segment of Nimasa this week, we will be discussing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals vis-a-vis the maritime sector in Nigeria and then the blue economy. My name is Femi Kumuyi. With me in the studio today is Olumide Oyewole, a senior maritime safety officer with Nimasa. Stay with me. Mr. Olumide, you're welcome to this segment.
Thank you, Mr. Femi, for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olumide, for joining us in this segment on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Can you give us an overview of the United Nations SDGs and the role the global maritime industry plays?
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi. The Sustainable Development Goals was initiated in 2015 when global leaders came together at one of the United Nations meetings and decided that they need to do something about prosperity of the nations globally, not, some countries thriving and others at the back burner. So they come up with these 17 laudable sustainable development goals, which they aim to achieve to ensure prosperity and peace for all that lives on the earth, both human beings and even the planet Earth itself. And the maritime sector is very, very integral to the establishment of the Sustainable Development Goals because, as we know, for sustainable development, trade is very, very important. And the maritime industry is the backbone of international trade. Aside that, the maritime industry also fosters economic growth. It helps in capacity building. It helps, in ensuring employment opportunities. And it's such an industry that has diverse streams of ensuring that people have a livelihood and that people can live and earn and have a life that is worth living with.
All right, thank you, Olumide. In the context of the blue economy, tell us how Nimasa's efforts towards the UNSDGs has helped in Nigeria.
Thanks again, Mr. Femi. One of the first thing again is we need to applaud this administration for actually creating the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. It means that they are looking towards the sustainability that we aim to achieve and these SDG goals. And Nimasa, as the focal point for implementing the blue economy, has been doing a lot lately. One of the things is ensuring maritime security. How do we ensure sustainable development or sustainable growth when people cannot even carry out activities on sea and feel secure? And that we've made so much progress lately on maritime security. Nimasa has done a lot, with the Deep Blue Project, with the SPOMO Act, Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act, which has helped us to curb some of this menace and has brought us to a point where people can carry out activities on water without fear. Another thing that Nimasa is currently doing is they are currently doing a marine spatial planning activity, which is an activity that ensures that all the maritime resources are well planned and we don't do overuse or underuse, and we optimally use it, putting into consideration what the posterity will also use from the sea. This is one thing that is on the front burner of the agency at the moment, and this would help us to ensure sustainable development through the blue economy. And we all know there's a lot of clamor for, shipbuilding, CVFF. These are also things that will help us to ensure that the blue economy thrives and helps sustainable development and in achieving the goals that has been set by the United Nations. Aside from this, the ripple effect, Femi, all the things that we are hearing these days about pollution and all of that. Nimasa is really doing a lot to curb these things. And when we reduce pollution, there's less issues of less fishes to catch. It makes things more easier and sustainable to do on the oceans. There's a lot that we can do. There's a lot that Nimasa is doing. If we continue today, I'm really proud and I can keep going on and on,
In about 5 years from now, the 17 SDGs will elapse. How has it fared in the Nigeria's maritime industry?
Thank you again, Femi, for that question. I won't say we are where we want to be, but baby steps. We are not where we were before, and I know that you can attest to this fact. Like I just spoke about security, we know where we were years before. We know where we are now, but we are making steps in the right direction, and we are moving towards achieving all that we intend to achieve. 2030, you know, is around the corner. We might not be able to achieve as much as we would love to, but are we making steps in the right direction? Absolutely. And you know, they say little drops of water make a mighty ocean, but I can guarantee you that we are making steps that if we continue in this trajectory, I mean, before everybody used to be scared of coming to Gulf of Guinea to bring their ships, but now we are in a situation where people are comfortable bringing it.
Poverty sits at the heart of the SDGs. How has the maritime industry in Nigeria helped to alleviate the people's poverty in line with the SDGs? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Femi, for that question. The SDG 1, as you know, is poverty, no poverty. And the United Nations aims to achieve this by ensuring that we minimize, first of all, we eliminate extreme poverty, which is people who live less than $1.25 per day, and then reduce poverty generally to about 50%. And how has Nimasa helped to achieve this? So far, we've had our front burner on the marine and blue economy. This is one way where we can develop a lot of livelihood for people. And I'm sure that you would also attest to the fact that some of the thriving industries we are finding in the maritime industry now were not existent before. And like I'll always go back to capacity building, because that is one of the most ways to ensure no poverty. I mean, you need them to earn something to ensure that they're empowered. And we've seen how some programs like the NSDP, the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program, has helped to build some capacity. It might not be at the level we want again, but it has helped to build some capacity. Now we have some seafarers who are working on board, who are able to take care of their family.
All right, thank you very much, Olumide. It's been a very educative segment. I've been talking to Olumide Oyewole of the Maritime Safety Department of Nimasa. I'll be talking about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and its importance to Nigeria's economy, particularly the maritime sector vis-a-vis the blue economy. So it's a wrap on this segment for this week. On to the next segment. See you again.
This is Nimasa This Week. You are watching Nimasa This Week.
You are watching Nimasa This Week.
You are watching Nimasa This Week.
The voice of maritime in Nigeria.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We are number one.
Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on these stations.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are Nimasa. New face, rejuvenated service. Nimasa, changing the tides in your favor.
It's time to drop anchor on another voyage on the program Nimasa This Week. But before I go, let me leave you with this. It's barely a week to the end of the month of January 2025. Remember, you have the power to sail to greater heights this year. So ignite the potentials in you and begin to pursue your goals vigorously. Until we meet again on the same platform, same time, same station next week. Bye for now.